Hare Krishna. There's no volume. No volume is coming through.
Dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to our Guru Parampara. Welcome to His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj's daily class. Thank you all for coming. We are continuing our reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, verse number 25, in case that's the verse Guru Maharaj wants. Or if you would like to speak on something else, Guru Maharaj, please do let me know, and we will pull up that verse accordingly.
Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. What is that black spot that's on the thing there? Okay, now it's gone. It's coming back again. What is that black spot? Can you hear me? Well, can you hear me?
I've taken it off, Guru Maharaj. Has it gone now?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yes, Guru Maharaj. Can you hear me?
Tasyai patava deho yam kripanasya jivikseho paratyani chato jirno daraya jaraya vasasi iva. Translation. Despite your unwillingness to die and your desire to live at the cost of honor and prestige, your miserly body will certainly dwindle and deteriorate like an old garment. The word kripanasya, jivyaso are significant. There are two classes of men. One is called the kripana. The other is called brahmana. The kripana, or miserly man, has no estimation of his material body, but the brahmana has true estimation of himself and the material body. The kripana, having a wrong estimation of his material body, wants to enjoy sense gratification with utmost strength. Even in his old age, he wants to become a young man by medical treatment or otherwise. Dhritarashtra is addressed herein as kripana because Without an estimation of his material body, he wants to live at any cost. Vidura is trying to open his eyes to see that he cannot live more than his term and that he must prepare for death. Since death is inevitable, why should he accept such a humiliating position for living? It's better to take to the right path, even at the risk of death. Human life is meant for finishing all kinds of miseries of material existence. Why do you keep jumping on the screen? Leave it alone. Leave the screen alone. It's all right. Dhritarashtra is just here as Kripana because without any estimation of his material body, he wants to live at any cost. Vidura is trying to open his eyes to see that he cannot live more than his term and that he must prepare for death. Since death is inevitable, why should he accept such a humility position for living? It is better to take to the right path at the risk of death. Human life is meant for finishing all kinds of miseries of material existence. And life should be so regulated that one can achieve the desired goal. Dhritarashtra, due to his wrong conception of life, had already spoiled 80% of his achieved energy. So it behooved him to utilize the remaining days of his miserly life for the ultimate good. Such a life is called miserly because one cannot properly utilize the assets of the human form of life. Only by good luck does one such a miserly man meet a self-realized soul like Vidura, and by his instructions get rid of the nescience of material existence. Umigyantimirandasya Ginajana Salakaya Chaksur Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapti Tam Yena Bhutalai Swayam Upakadam Mayam Dadati Swam Padati Kam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Sri Makti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pastyatya De Satarine Panchakalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Pevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, the more attached a person is, the more they can't hear the instructions. That's why sometimes Krishna, in order to show mercy to a conditioned soul who has some inclination for spiritual life, but still is very much attached, he will cause them some calamity in life, some sickness, some fallout, some removal of his forms of attachment. And that person will start to realize that what I'm trying to live for is not giving me any satisfaction, or it's turning into the opposite, it's giving me misery. That's Krishna's mercy. Mercy comes in different ways according to how it is needed. Krishna is merciful. That means he always works for the best interest of his devotees. And also for the best interest of even in the conditioned souls in the material world. Although they can't understand how merciful Krishna is, he causes them some difficulty through the material energy in order to help them realize that what they are trying to achieve is not in their best interest. We understand the human form of life has simply one particular goal, and that is to come to the spiritual platform by rendering devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead under the guidance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's representative in the material world, the spiritual master, who conducts his affairs according to the desires of the Lord. And here, Vidura is the perfect spiritual master. Although he doesn't have an official position as that, still he's acting in that capacity because out of compassion for his older brother. And that is mercy. No one likes to hear things that are not in line with their desired goals in life. Sometimes they do hear that, but they reject it. And that's the way of material life, is that material life has two features to it. One is called throwing, and the other is called covering. Throwing means that the material energy, or what we know as the Mayic energy, removes one from the position of service to the Lord, and then makes them forget what it's like to serve the Lord. The Maya covering is complete when the living entity hits the material world. But even in the process of devotional service as devotees, we have a tendency to somehow or other still try to entertain material activities and thinking that they're all right, we can still make progress in material life, in spiritual life. But they're contrary. Every time we give it to Maya or accept Maya's entrancings in order to fulfill some material desire, whether it's gross or subtle, we find ourselves in a very awkward position. And sometimes we get away with it, and that means we may be able to fulfill some small desire. But what it does, it deters us away from our progress in spiritual life. It makes us start to think that it's all right. The devotee should always be aware that if you want to become Krishna conscious, and that's why we become a devotee, the goal of devotional life is to become fully God conscious or Krishna conscious. And it's readily available, especially by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this stage, through the Sankirtan movement. He's made it not only easy, but enjoyable, along with the activities of devotional service which support the Sankirtan movement and which are also ingredients that inspire us in devotional service. So Mahaprabhu has made it really easy, but material life is such that our old habits and our desires are always reminding us, in either in a gross or subtle way, where you are weak spiritually, or where you are inclined to immediately, and she'll make propositions and proposals. Just like sometimes we are chanting our rounds and we're not getting much of a taste for chanting. So we think, well, I just better stop chanting because I'm not getting any taste. I'd rather do something else. But rather than trying to perfect our chanting and overcome the dryness of our chanting by applying our intelligence on how to approach the holy name with more devotion, with more attention, and with more intelligence, we somehow or other kind of like push it aside and think, yeah. But the holy name is always ready to give the mercy as long as we receive the mercy. So Krishna consciousness, as Rupa Goswami explains, one has to be enthusiastic. And then he explains what enthusiasm is in a practical way. The soul's relationship with the Supreme Lord is through the super soul. And the super soul is connecting us or with God. He is God himself, but he's connecting us with the process of pure devotional service as his service to the conditioned soul. And he does that by awakening our intelligence. So when the intelligence is awakened, devotional service becomes easy and natural. If we're lazy or not enthusiastic or want to postpone, here we have the example. We can't understand fully what is Dhritarashtra's motivations in life. He has some inclination towards spiritual life. He's surrounded by many devotees, some pure devotees like the Pandavas and others, along with his younger brother Vidura. But still, he can't see the benefit of hearing or taking advantage of what they have to offer. Because although he has some inclination, he's still very much attached to his material situation. So sometimes we should, therefore, in our similar situation, we find ourselves being attached to certain things that we like, and we find it hard to give up. But we know it's making our devotional service less powerful or less effective. So one has to take good association and pray. Just for instance, we have just returned from a and 2 full days. And the
Guru Maharaj, for some reason, your sound is freezing repeatedly. The sound is freezing repeatedly.
Yeah, we can approach the holy name by getting greater understandings through the association of devotees when we attend programs that are meant for uplifting our spiritual consciousness, especially the chanting of the holy name. And so one should never become negative when it comes to devotional service, because Krishna is always there. Krishna is always ready to guide us as long as we can take his mercy. And the 2 mercy forms that he comes for is chanting the holy names and associating and serving devotees, especially those who are advanced. So yeah, we find that our struggle becomes simple when we become aware how to use our time to progress in devotional service. Now, some of us may have come to devotional service in order to improve our material life. And Krishna mentions that in the Bhagavad Gita. The 4 types of people come to me, and one of them is one who wants improvement in material life, or those who are just but one should understand through hearing regularly and associate in the process of devotional service that the real purpose of devotional service is Prema Pumartha Mahan, to awaken our natural love for Krishna. That is the only goal. There's apparent secondary goals, maybe even many of them that come in the process of attaining that final goal, such as perfecting our chanting, keeping a regulated schedule, hearing regularly from the spiritual master, associating with devotees. Live in the family life should daily work of the deity. If we have a deity at home approved by spiritual master, then regular worship is required, and that will purify our home and purify our heart. But if we don't, we should visit the temple daily in order to see and associate with and maybe offer some service to the deity. The deity worship is optional for grihastas. So one might say, well, that's impossible for me to go every day, but one should make an effort in that direction. And you see that after a while, it becomes part of your day, and actually, you look forward to that part of the day. Well, many things that we do during the day, we have to do, such as working at jobs or taking care of our bodies, but we have to do them. They're not so it becomes a joyful experience. And whatever endeavor we make in that way will be something that we look forward to rather than something that is difficult to do. So Krishna consciousness is that material life is that when you do something new or different, it's nice at the beginning. Something. Initially, it may not always be pleasing at the beginning. And that's the difference between material and spiritual. Material gradually diminishes in what it has to offer, and spiritual only increases as we continue. So one should always be enthusiastic to accept those services that are beneficial for our devotional service. So it's like if we live near a temple, we should go to Mangalarti. Or if we can't go to Mangalarti for whatever reason, we should have a Mangalarti in our home. So Mangalarti, Mangala means for the day with a spiritual consciousness. So has to be enthusiastic for devotional service, because if one is not, then Maya is so strong, and Maya's ways of deviating us become a regular thing. But if we determined, and even if we're not so knowledgeable of how Maya is deterring us, still we should keep our consciousness connected to the process of devotional service, and that will overshadow the entreats of Maya. We just don't have any time. Like there's a story where, not a story, but a particular incident in the life of Srila Prabhupada, preaching in someplace in India, and he was giving a Pandal program. Was giving a Pandal program, and at the end of the Pandal program, many of the persons who had came were people who had high positions in the Indian government. So one such personality at the end, he paid his full dandavats to Srila Prabhupada. And the devotees who had just recently come with Srila Prabhupada to India, they were quite astonished to see such an important person in such a humble and very menial expression of devotion, with his arms outstretched at the lotus feet of Prabhupada. And then the devotees just had to ask, so they asked Prabhupada, what is it about you that attracts, people? And Prabhupada responded, he said, I have no lust. That was his response. And that's all he said. And then he went on his way. And then it was time for him to get in his vehicle and return to his place. And so some of the devotees were traveling with him. And it was quite quiet in the car, unusually, because they were still thinking of what Prabhupada had. They were thinking, oh, Prabhupada says he has no lust, but look at us, But then when Prabhupada got to his place, he got out of the car, turned around, looked at the devotees, and he said, because he could understand that they were thinking about what he had said. And he responded by saying, it's not that I have no lust, it's that I have no time. So he was making the point, don't give any time to Maya. If you don't give time to Maya, then she can't capture you. Always keep a very clear and regulated schedule that you use every bit of time in the best possible way. And that way Maya cannot jump in there. Of course, she may jump in if we're associating with the material energy and we have to interact with the materialist. But if we have strong sadhana in the morning, that's one of the questions that came up in our recent Holy Name retreat, is, I have to be so much involved with the external energy, and I find myself being pulled away from my Krishna consciousness in that environment. And the response was, yeah, keep good sadhana, strong sadhana, and that will fortify your consciousness and make you less vulnerable to the activities of the material energy or the materialistic people. It's just like, sometimes we go along in life and we're doing something and other things are happening around us, but we don't notice them because we're so absorbed in what we're doing. And maybe even people are passing by or something is happening, and still we don't notice because we're where we are. We're in our own consciousness. We're absorbed in doing something. We're thinking about something. So that's the way Krishna consciousness is, that we don't even notice the material energy, what's going on, because we have no interest in it. We're reading about the life of one great sadhu. He was known as a transcendental madman. There's a book written about him. His name was Vamsidas. And very tall, big man. He wore only a loincloth, hardly ever bathed. And he spent most of his time just worshiping his deities. He had deities of Radha Krishna, he had deities of Gopal, and he had deities of of Gornitai. Actually, he had deities of Gornitai and Gopal. And he would spend most of his time just talking to his deities. Sometimes he would discuss things with his deities. Nobody knew what, he never told what he said back to him, but he would have long discussions with his deities. And if people were around, they wanted to talk to him about, he didn't want to be bothered with them because he knew they were just looking for some cheap blessings so they can continue with their success in material life. No, he didn't bother with that. Once in a while, he would respond to somebody's question when they came up to him, but only those that he could understand were actually serious about learning about Krishna consciousness, which at that time was very few. Most people wanted to improve their material life in a different way. That was Vamsi. His life is very interesting. Bhakti Vikash Maharaj has written a book called Vamsidas, yeah. Vamsi Ananda, I think his name is. Yeah, Vamsi Ananda. It's an interesting little book on the life of this transcendental madman. We can see, we can learn from people who are completely absorbed in worshiping the Lord, even though they're living in the material world. They don't fit in at all. They don't even act properly sometimes because they don't want to be bothered with that. It's not that we should do that. That's a stage of very elevated consciousness where one is completely detached from everything material, even forgets to eat sometimes, forgets to bathe, forgets to go to sleep. In other words, they don't do these things, they just forget about them. They get so busy in devotional service that they just don't worry about the material body so much. So these are, of course, elevated souls. Vidura's very elevated souls. He's compassion personified. He had reached self-realization, but he wanted to come back to the palace because he knew his older brother needed some words. Just like when you know someone is sick, you advise them to go to the doctor, or maybe you give some medical advice yourself. Well, because we're concerned about the person, so we want to help. It's just human culture to want to help others who are in need. But so in this case, he was in need of spiritual instructions, guidance. And so as a spiritual doctor, Vidura came back and administered the medicine. The medicine was quite strong. Just like when you go sometimes to a doctor, you get different kinds of medicine. Like I'm under Ayurvedic care, so I go regularly, and they give me this kashayan, and it's really bitter. It's super bitter. Its taste is really very repugnant. You can't really, you have to just get it down, hold your nose, close your eyes. But it's medicine and it's necessary, and we don't neglect it. We take it, although it's not so pleasing. So yeah, so a sadhu will sometimes give that medicine that is not pleasing to the conditioned soul, but it's the medicine that's needed. And here, Dhritarashtra is getting a full dose. In fact, it's ration. He's getting as much care as he needs because he's so attached. He's so attached to his material body, although it's falling apart, it's breaking down. He's never been able to even see the external world. He's been blind from birth, but he's still attached. So it says that, attachment goes to some certain extents that it actually becomes ridiculous how a person could be attached to such things. But that's the nature of attachment. Attachment means something that we somehow or other feel that we need or have to have in order to live. That's just Maya's dictation. We have to become attached to Krishna. If we don't become attached to Krishna, then we'll be attached to those things that will bring us away from Krishna. So getting attached to Krishna is easy because Krishna is all attractive. Anyone who connects with Krishna regularly will develop an attraction for Krishna. And that attraction will turn into an attachment. And as the attachment develops, it turns into affection and ultimately into love. So that is the process of devotional service. Get attracted to Krishna, get attached to Krishna. And Dhritarashtra will wake up after some time and he'll make the right move. So continue to come to these lectures every day and you can see how this whole scenario actually develops and will actually winds out. And it's quite glorious when you hear about it. And that's the nature of a sadhu. It can turn a person's life from something despicable and pitiable into something glorious if they take the medicine. Okay, so we'll stop there.
Yeah, Guru Maharaj, you've given so many different important points to meditate on, to understand, as well as apply in our own lives. Through this message of Vidur, we are also getting a glimpse into how attached we are to this material world.
Open it up for questions. That's the first thing you're supposed to do.
Okay. Dear devotees, please go ahead with your questions.
If there's no questions, then you can ask your question. You give priority to the devotees.
Yes, Maharaj. No one has raised their hand so far. So I would like to ask Maharaj, some of our attachments we are not even aware of. They're so deep. Our attachment to this material world goes so far that some of the things we may be aware of and we can
Still,
work
it's
on.
an attachment. Yeah. Still, it's attachment, and it'll keep you in the material world. So you should be aware of what you're attached to. That's why you read the books. That's why you go to the lectures. That's why you associate with devotees. You can see you're attached.
And what about those attachments that we cannot even see, we are not aware of?
Showed, he called it. We have to know truth and nescience. Nescience means so. There's no excuse. You have to learn what are these attachments, and if you're not sure, ask somebody. Ask your spiritual master, or ask someone who's close to you who can give you that advice. But to say I don't know my attachments means you'll go on with those subtle attachments. If you know them, then you can work on them. And we can. If we're a little perceptive, we can see. At least to a large degree. Maybe not completely. The false ego is very subtle. Our main attachment is that we want to be the enjoyer. So that's an attachment. I want to be the enjoyer. But if you really want to enjoy, and that propensity to enjoy is intrinsic in the soul's existence, then you can enjoy in the process of pure devotional service, which is the ultimate principle of enjoyment. If devotional service is not enjoyable, then who would take to it? It's the highest form of happiness. It's susukam, as Krishna says, susukam kortavamyam. It is the supreme happiness. It's that happiness that once it begins, it only increases. Material happiness comes and goes, and after some time may even be lost completely. But spiritual happiness, once you start to develop it, it'll increase more and more.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yes, Namrata, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. My humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, we are in this material world, so sometimes we have interactions on material level, although we are not advised. We are advised to stay in spiritual association, but we have to interact sometimes. So we have instances where we feel disturbed or uncomfortable in such atmosphere. So how do we keep ourselves
uncomfortable with the non-devotees?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's all right. You should feel like that. But
Yeah, but
take shelter.
how?
If you feel comfortable in wrong association, then you're in trouble.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. So
But
how do Guru Maharaj keep a holy name in our mind, even in their presence? So I'm like,
practice.
yeah.
The holy name is always available. Holy name is always available. Just chant. The holy name is always available. Keep a picture of Krishna on your person all the time. Ladies carry around some things that they carry all of their stuff in. Keep a nice, beautiful picture of Krishna and look at it every once in a while, or as much as you can. Remember the deity when you saw the deity in the morning. There's so many ways. These are practical things. If you want to be Krishna conscious, then all of these things become easy. But if you don't want to be Krishna conscious, if you want an easy way out of life, then these things seem to be so difficult or not even impractical. Just remember Krishna. Sometimes you have to deal with people, so you have to talk. So you talk. And when you're done, you remember Krishna again. And don't talk about things that are contrary to spiritual life. So association is important. If we have day-to-day business with the material energy, it's just what it is. It's business. Prabhupada said you have to go to the toilet every day. So you don't, once you finish your business, you get out. You don't stay in the bathroom and have a picnic there.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Very nice question, Namrata. I think all of us got benefited from that. Dear devotees, any other questions, comments, realizations, sharing? Please feel free to jump in and ask your question. I know Shilpesh Prabhu, you had some difficulty, but I hope later on the recording will be helpful for you. So Maharaj, there are no further questions. I want to ask this question about Vidur interacting with Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra wasn't willing to hear, though Vidur was trying so many times. But this time, somehow, he managed to get through. And that is because Dhritarashtra was in a weakened position. He was now at the mercy of the Pandavas. So is it that sometimes people will be willing to hear only when they are in a weaker position?
Yeah, that means they're more, yeah, they say there's no non-believers in the graveyard, you know. You know, what is called, it's called smasana vairagya. Smasana vairagya. You know what smasana means? It means graveyard. You see your dead relative there is a grave, and you see a friend or someone, you said, oh yeah, and I'm going to start to renounce everything, become more detached. And then as soon as you leave the graveyard, you forget all that and go back to your ways of doing things. Yeah, so Krishna will help you. If you really are serious, he'll give you some difficulty just to remind you. If you can't do it directly, he'll help you do it indirectly. He'll allow Maya to kick you. But it's for your benefit. Maya is his agent to help you become Krishna conscious. That's her only job. Of course, she has to serve the non-devotees, but for the devotees, she's always she's working in concordance with Krishna's desire to help that devotee become a little bit more attached to Krishna. Well, why go to the long route or the difficult route? Just directly go to Krishna. Take to the process serious. Krishna's mercy.
Unfortunately, you're freezing up from time to time, Guru Maharaj, and your voice is not coming through. So we are missing out on some words.
How can I, always thinking, how can my time now to serve Krishna? Now means every minute. Like a wino, you know, in New York City, they have many of the big cities, they have these places where these drunkards hang out, and they have practically no residence, and all they do is drink all the time. So they get these cheap bottles of wine. I remember there was this one particular brand that the winos would get all the time. It was called Thunderbird. For 50 cents, that was back at 50 ago. 50 cents, you could get a bottle of wine for 50 cents. And then they would drink their bottle, and then they would try to beg another 50 cents somewhere. As soon as they finish one bottle, they're always looking for the next bottle. That way they constantly drink. The devotee has to be like that. Go from one service to another. One aspect of Krishna consciousness to another. No breaks. Because if you want to become Krishna conscious, otherwise the material energy will disturb you. So for those who live in the material world with family and material responsibilities, regulate your life. Fill up your schedule as much as you can with Krishna. give some time for your material responsibilities, life is nice. It's easy. And the more you take the Krishna consciousness, the more you enjoy it, and the more you enjoy it, the more you want it. If you're not enjoying Krishna consciousness or the activities of devotional service, that means you're still as contaminated that you can't really taste it yet. Material life, our attachments are still, although Krishna consciousness is sweet, we're still going through the process of trying to taste it because that jaundice of material desire is still strong. But don't become discouraged from that. It's just a matter of time, that's all. When it becomes tasty and very pleasing. What happened to our Zoom host? Did she die or what? Is she still there?
I'm very much here, Guru Maharaj. I'm busy taking notes. But this is so important to understand that if you give a little room for Maya, she will get in. And the next few years, you don't know what you've been doing. And it's a complete waste of time. I find this happening to me. And I think, my gosh, 2 hours. And what did I do? What did I achieve? I could have used that time differently or better. And then I think, no, but this is a material responsibility. I have to fulfill it. I have to do it. So like this, I keep wondering how to become more Krishna conscious. At the same time, I worry that I'm spending too much on the material responsibilities.
Yeah, we'll spend less. If you know something is wrong, change. You know something needs to be adjusted, do it. It's that simple. Nobody's going to do it for you. You got to do it.
Dear devotees, any further questions, comments?
Still here.
Guru Maharaj is still here. Feel free to ask your questions and clear your doubts because this is such an important subject. And it would be so helpful to hear what challenges you have, and the answers may help all of us. Doesn't look like there are many more questions at this point, Guru Maharaj.
If you try to hide your Maya, it only gets stronger. But if you talk about your Maya, then you can expose it and defeat it. We have doubts or we have some attachments, we should bring them up in the form of questions. That way we can overcome these things. Well, if you think they're okay, then they'll grow and they'll become okay. So I guess we can stop here.
Revati Mataji has raised her hand. Please go ahead, Revati.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. My question is about attachment and love. So here, like Dhritarashtra's attachment is like, even though his sons are on a not a right path, still like he wanted his sons to win. So that's like an attachment. You have told about the Kailash story, and he was attached to the duty. So how should we differentiate, Guru Maharaj? So what is Dhritarashtra's is called? When you're doing a duty, also you get attached.
Seems to be cutting out from my end here. I'm not getting the whole sentences. Let me disconnect my drive. Now speak again.
So Guru Maharaj, my question is about attachment and duty. Here, like a Dhritarashtra, he's very much attached to his sons, even though they are not on the right path. Still, he wanted them to win the war. And Kailash story he was telling about, he was attached because he wanted to take care of the family. So I'm just trying to understand, in these both scenarios, how should we understand that attachment, or what is duty and what is love?
Oh yeah, if you have a responsibility in the family, you take care of that duty and you become Krishna conscious at the same time. Okay. But Prabhupada said, live in such a way as that you don't become, you don't spend all day in material life. So one of the principles that makes devotional service successful is learning to become simple in your material life. Don't get so complicated. That way you have time and energy for Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, you won't have time. So then you might say, well, how do I do that? Well, that you have to see. How can I? You have to understand, Krishna consciousness is not something that people are going to hand it to you. You have to work at it. You have to make it happen. It's proactive. It's not just sitting back and, dealing with things as they come along. No. You have to see what's favorable and what's unfavorable. Sanatana Goswami makes that point. Is this what I'm doing? Is this favorable for my Krishna consciousness? Is this what I'm doing? Is it unfavorable for my Krishna consciousness? Then that's the discriminating factor, to see what is favorable and unfavorable. And then you learn. If you're not sure, then you ask. We're always discriminating in the material way every day. We have to see how much, money we're spending every day to make sure we don't break the budget. You have to see how much we need in order to keep our health up. We're always discriminating. Why not? When our practice of Krishna consciousness, we have to discriminate. What is that is interfering with my relationship with Krishna? Or what is that that's making my relationship with Krishna very hard to develop? That's why we have a society of devotees, so we can learn. Devotees help devotees. Sadhu Sangha.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. So every time we should have that constant check so that it doesn't lead to attachment.
Yeah, well, you have to see. Is this favorable? This is unfavorable. I did this before. This is what happened. Should I do it again? You think in terms of, how to use your time. What's important? What's not important? We do it all the time in a material sense. We have to do it in order to become Krishna conscious. We have to do that also in the spiritual sense. How much time am I giving to my material life? How much time am I giving to my spiritual life? Silpesh.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my obeisances.
Got this sleepy Zoom host over here. He doesn't do anything but sits around and just, come on, you're gonna get fired soon. You don't know how, come on, don't you know how to host this program? You've
I
been
was just
doing-
going to ask Shilpesh Prabhu to speak, Guru Maharaj.
you have to be active about what's going on. You also make some comments, ask questions when there's nobody asking questions, keep things moving. Instead of just sitting there spacing out, looking at everybody on the, come on, stop spacing out. You're so spaced out. Spaced out means that you're in another space. Let's be here now is the principle. Be on top, if you're going to do the service, do it.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. I'm sorry.
Yes, Guru Maharaj doesn't solve the problem. Do it. If
Go
you're
ahead,
gonna
Shilpesh Prabhu.
do the service, it's not like you're trying to enjoy the service rather than do the service. And therefore, you're in the enjoying mood all the time. How can I enjoy what I'm doing? No, just do the service the way you're supposed to do it. Enjoyment is not the mood that the devotees do. We do the service because it needs to be done. We do it in the best possible way. Whether we like it or not like it, we just have to do it. And when you get away from that enjoying mood, then you start understanding what you need to do. Forget the enjoying mood. Use your intelligence how to do what you're supposed to do. We've been given so many instructions over the years about what requires for a Zoom host. You can see the examples of others who are doing it nicely and properly. Okay. Hare Krishna. We have to understand that you're doing it as a service, you're not just there so you can enjoy. It's a service. Service is enjoyable when you give up the idea to enjoy, then it's enjoyable. If you're trying to enjoy, then you miss the actual understanding of what is real enjoyment. Hare Krishna. Okay, Silpesh, sorry for the interruption, but sometimes these things have to be said. Otherwise, I just, I'm going to go to sleep here with her monitoring this program.
Maharaj, to Sridevi's credit, she was trying to tell you that your audio kept freezing until you disconnected that drive. So unfortunately, that drive isn't working too well because we keep having a problem every time we use it.
Yeah, I'm not going to use it anymore. But I've been off the drive for about 10 minutes now. So.
Yeah, it's much better now. It's much better now once you did it.
These are all of my people give me all of these things and say, wow, this will improve. And it doesn't work.
It does improve the sound, but unfortunately, it just keeps freezing you a couple of minutes or so. So I think we need to have a solution.
It's not a drive, it's an external speaker. Then.
Yeah, it's a microphone, I think. Yeah, I think we need a proper microphone, like the lapel microphone or a big microphone.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can go back to the source and get this thing working right. If I can't, then we'll just give it up.
Yeah, thank you, Maharaj.
Hey, so fast, sorry for the distraction there. I hope it didn't make you forget your question.
No, I didn't have a question. It was just I just wanted to comment that lately it's like when I get up in the morning, I'm looking forward to like going to the park to chant, and there's just that enthusiasm like what you said today, it's like I'm scheduling my day a bit more. I'm saying, okay, this time I want to go to the park and just sit there and chant. And I speak to people about Krishna who see me chanting. And even when I have a nap in the afternoon, I want to get up quicker now so that I can do my reading or something. I just wanted to comment that, it's like, it's true. The more we associate, the more we connect with devotees, that enthusiasm just grows.
Yeah. If we just, follow the process, make our schedule, and work at it, whether we enjoy it or not, it's not important. Krishna is enjoying it if we do it regularly and we do it with attention. Yeah, so it's nice. So you look forward to that. That means you're getting a taste. That means that you're becoming Krishna conscious. We don't look forward to the activities of devotional service. We'll look forward to the material activities. We have to look forward to something. It's the nature of the soul.
Thank you much. Keep blessing.
Thank you for the comment. We like to hear devotees, their success stories. Yeah, devotional service is the soul's nature. Serve. Whether it's pleasing or not, it's all a matter of time. It may be pleasing, may not be. Stay with it, it becomes pleasing. We have a tendency to adjust. We try this, it works for some time, then we give it up because it's not pleasing anymore, and we try something else and go through the same routine again. Stay fixed. Steady. Regulated. Then you're telling Krishna that I really want to be Krishna conscious, because he's the one that's giving the taste by his mercy. And sometimes he just doesn't give the taste because he sees that we're not serious, or we're just doing it so we can get some material taste out of it. And so he'll withhold the taste.
Guru Maharaj, maybe ask a little bit about the 50th anniversary installation of Radha Gokulananda celebrations.
Well, that's changing the whole subject matter, but if this, we should stay with the course.
Okay.
If we can do that at the end when there's no more questions.
Any other questions, dear devotees? Please jump in and ask your question, because now is the time when we can really get to the root of all those things which bother us and hold us back.
Okay, so we want to speak about Radha Gokulananda.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, please, just for a few minutes, if you will.
I don't know anything about it.
It's live now. They're live streaming the program now from the Haveli at the Manor. So it's been on this morning. Today's the Srila Prabhupada Festival. Tomorrow will be Kirtan with Radhanath Maharaj and Shivaram Maharaj. And on Monday, they're doing the Abhishek for the anniversary of installation of the deities.
Oh, nice. Powerful. Those of you who are in London, take advantage. Sadhu Sangha in a very powerful way. Okay, but wherever you are, there's always something going on. Just look for it. Okay, we'll stop here. Thank you very much. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. See you all tomorrow.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. All glories to
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you all, dear devotees, for your patience and for your presence. Thank you all so much for putting up with your spaced out Zoom host.
Thank you.
Please pray for me to do better, and please, Guru Maharaj. I'm not in good consciousness. I know that.
Oh, thank you, Sri Devi Mataji. You do a good job, Mataji. You do good.
Lots of room for improvement. That's obvious. I got the sauce today.
That's right.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna. Thank you. Very good.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. I will end the call now. Thank you all so much.
Gurudeva ki jai.